Right, good morning. It's morning here because it's 1 a.m. What am I doing up at 1 a.m.? Well, we've got a very big match here. We've got opperwezen versus Sexy and I Know It for the Crazy House World Championship. Um, opperwezen only has 2 matches left to play. He's currently on 8 out of 8. A win today would nearly guarantee him as the player to go through to the final. Um, Fumitox would still be on 1 out of 2 and still be on reach mathematically, or within reach, I should say. It is 1 a.m., so I'm going to try to keep my voice down. We're going to be watching the games from the view of Sexy and I Know It. I believe he's just logged on. He might just need a moment to get set up. opperwezen also waiting in the wings. I'll be streaming with the standard 3-minute delay to respect the integrity of the match. There'll be no leaking of information from this stream to the players, only at a time when the position has moved on far enough. So while we wait, let me just say something about the Candidates Appreciation Fund at the bottom right. For the 11 candidates, this is an incentive where if they finish all their games, they're entitled to $101. So we're currently at a massive 54.91% of the target, $610 out of $1,111. So if you'd like to support the candidates directly, please donate to that fund. There's a link at the bottom of my Twitch page. It's the only thing that's underneath the Twitch page. And the candidates really appreciate all the support. So that's what that little target is about. We should be getting underway just shortly. Maybe I've got time to pull up. I've got time to pull up the standings. Let's have a look at that. Okay. So let's start with opperwezen here. He's won 6-4 against J Killer, 6-4 against 12 Teen. He's won all of his matches so far. He's on 8 out of 8. Thrilling match against Fumitox, who really had Opper on his skates, I would think. Fumitox was up 3-1, really putting on some pressure, and Opper held fast to win 5 games in a row and come back up 6-3, and then he lost the last game, so he won 6-4. So opperwezen on 8 out of 8. You can see here matches played, match points 8 out of 8, and really separated from the rest of the field. GSVC and 12 Teen. So GSVC on 7.5 out of 9, 12 Teen on 7 out of 9. So each of these guys have 1 game left to play. That's why Opper would be out of reach of 12 Teen and GSVC if he wins this game. And the only player left that can chase is Fumitox on 1 out of 2. So let's put that away because the board is set up. We're ready to go. Good luck to both players. Should be a great match. Okay. So on paper, opperwezen up about 3-1, 69-21, but anything can happen in the candidates match. Baku's already putting in a prediction. I predict Opper wins 8 games to 2. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the way opperwezen's been playing, he'd be a favourite here, but all of the candidates are dangerous. You should have seen Fumitox against opperwezen. That was, if you haven't seen that, go and check out my YouTube channel. The latest video is there. Okay. That's good. We'll let a few viewers roll in while the players get ready to make their first move. Here we go. E4. Okay. Alright, opperwezen going for knight f6. E5, quite often D5, sacrifice, that's common in Crazy House, and Sexy and I Know It chooses to decline the knight This is quite a balanced game practically in Crazy House because the black pawn makes the king side very safe, and white has essentially spent 3 moves to get to the knight. Um, to give you some idea of piece relativity, in Crazy House it's probably something like a pawn is worth 1, knights, bishops and rooks are worth 2, a queen is worth 4. That's been quite a popular judgment on piece values. So, it's not like chess where, if you win a piece for a pawn, it would be over. This is a common sacrifice here on f6. So bishop d7 was d5 not on? Was then knight takes e5 maybe? I've not seen bishop b5, bishop d7. So quite often this bishop is out on f5. There's some tactics here. Like I think knight takes c3, bc, knight takes e5. I think Oppo might just be calculating knight takes e5, bishop takes b5. I think he'll do it. I mean, that's probably the best thing black can play for here, a bit of material. So he's just going for knight at e4 first. Knight takes e5. Maybe he's also covering g5 first before going for material. He might be concerned about a knight takes f7 sack. This is a safe option, regardless. And Baku says also, have you heard about the recent Fumitox drama with 12-teen? Yeah, I've only caught it secondhand. I mean, yeah, I heard something like they were trying to play today, and then, I don't know, they were ready to start, and then 12-teen had to restart his computer, and then Fumitox didn't want to play. I don't know much beyond that, but it sounds like there's some misunderstanding, and yeah, I just hope they can get past it and resolve it. There's, it'd be a fantastic match to watch. My only, I mean, the only thing I can say is I'd love to see the match and I'd love to stream it. So, I mean, it's not good if they're giving each other a hard time, but I guess the only silver lining to that cloud is maybe I'll get to stream it if they can play it at a later date. Okay, so knight takes f7. This is interesting. This is what we were looking at. I think it is quite dangerous. King takes f7, knight at e5 check. I think king e7. There's a bishop that can come out on a3 to assist as well. There's a knight that might land on g6 or f7. But there's a line even here. You've got to be really careful. King takes, knight at e5, king e8, pawn at f7, king e7, like knight at g8 looks really damaging. You may even switch up your move order. You might want to put bishop a3 in there, but yeah, there's that knight feels very much poisoned. And opperwezen, you can see he's burning the clock here. Queen h4, he's brought out. I think white should probably take this. Looks good. I just feel that this isn't going to be enough here. Pawn at e2 could be a possible move, but yeah, I just think black's covered at the back. He might be able to. This bishop might get overworked if you play pawn at e2. My pawn f7, king d8, queen takes e2, bishop takes, rook at e8 check, then opens up. King d7, knight at e5 check, king d6. It's nearly mate. Oh, this looks really dangerous for black. Pawn at f7. If he's right, it'll pay off because queen takes f1, queen takes f2 will be winning for black. After queen takes, rook at h1 takes, knight takes. Looks very strong. Knight at e5. He's playing very accurately here. He's going d7 to e8, and that stops the rook from blocking off the back rank. Now if rook at e8, there's bishop at d8. So opperwezen playing very sharp here. I I feel like rook at e8 is in order to take a piece out of your opponent's hand. If you're black, you would want to block with the bishop, because if you want to keep your attacking threats open, you need to keep the rook in hand for rook at h1. So queen takes, takes, rook at h1, takes, king g1. Can white actually survive that? It looks mighty dangerous. There's nearly like some kind of queen at e1 idea, where there's blocker knight h3. Yeah, I feel like the bishop should be there. Then maybe white can actually take this, because white needs a pawn here. It's all very sharp. White's just short of a pawn. Queen's defending d8, of course, but queen takes f1. So queen takes f2. Just play a rook here. And I figure Sexy and I Know It has worked out he's got enough defensive resource at the back that he's not going to be mated. I think you just block with the rook. Knight h3, g takes, pawn at f2, king g2, opperwezen resigns. So, Sexy and I Know It draws first blood. Critical game here. You know, anything can happen. So we'll play it by Sexy and I Know It, taking it down. A nice initiative and some very sharp, accurate play, determining when queen takes f1 was safe to capture, even though it looked very dangerous. Question from Uday444 says, when is the final? The final will be when we determine who the finalist is. You know, people are calling that it's opperwezen, but until he wins all the games, then you can't really say that. So we're going very theoretical here. I mean, bishop g5. I think if you're using Stockfish, the computer, it's probably claiming white's ahead already. There are some sharp theoretical lines. Bishop h4 is probably more theoretical. Bishop takes f6 is also a line. I'm very familiar with this one. c3 is normally the continuation. But Sexy and I Know It won't be going into this without knowing a thing or two. Maybe it's bishop at h5, bishop g4. There's bishop at e6 is a move. It depends. There's some ideas here. Okay, bishop at g4. Now b4 is natural. Bishop e6, b5, knight e7 ends badly. Usually knight takes e7, queen takes e7, knight at g6 causes problems. Bishop e6, b5, knight a5, and the theoretical move against that one, I believe, is knight takes e5. And you go, what? Knight takes e5, you just lose a queen, there's pawn at e7, and you know, the queen gets traded off, and there's knight at f6 check, and the attack just rolls in. So there's a lot of theoretical plays from here, to the point where sometimes black will even sacrifice the pawn to avoid that. And see, this is exactly what I'm saying. And you may get a knight in on d4, or attempt to attack some other way. So pawn at h3, that's not a move I'm familiar with, but g takes, bishop takes possibly, not queen takes, knight d4. And yeah, so without the commentary, you'd go, well, why did he just give up a bishop for a pawn? That doesn't make sense. But please take my word for it that there are some very dangerous theoretical lines where knight takes e5 is a silent killer. So bishop at h4. So if you take it, takes, knight at f6 will win for white. So black can't take the bishop on h4. If takes here, you take the queen, takes queen, knight at f6 is also no better. So this is a very accurate move from opperwezen. He's making use of the fact that you can't can't get away with losing the queen so easily. I think white's better here. Knight at f6 is very dangerous. Bishop at g4 and pawn at h3. I'm not sure it makes sense to combine those two. Every tempo counts so heavily here. So he does pick up the rook. Queen takes f1. Now you'd be wanting to defend h7 or something like rook at g6. Wow, he's going to grab this. So he's going to allow knight at f6. This looks like mate though. Knight at f6, takes, king f8, queen at g8, check, king e7, queen takes f7, mate. The problem is this bishop hits f7. So knight at f6, takes, king g7, queen at h7, king f8, here, queen takes. Right, but opperwezen choosing to get fancy. He moves the knight to f6. So yeah, I'm pretty sure knight at f6 was mating there. Bishop takes, so maybe he's got an alternative here. King takes, pawn at g6, takes, knight h4 check. That looks like it's gonna mate as well. You can't go to f7 because pawn at g6, king here, queen at f7 mate. Can you survive on g7? Probably not. Okay, this looks very dangerous as well. So pawn at g7 takes, queen at g6, king f8, pawn at g7 again, king e7, knight at d5, bishop. Oh no, queen takes g4. That finishes it. So opperwezen found his way as well. 1-1. Okay, e4. 1-1, guys. We've got a match here. e4, e5. Same opening. d4. And you'd say, well, why not take the knight? Well, sometimes it's, particularly for players that like that setup, it's nearly like a little bit of a frustration that you don't take this and you just maintain space as white. I think strategically it's a reasonable idea. Okay, we're seeing a similar opening here. Now, last time opperwezen went knight takes e5. I don't think we'll see that again. It didn't end well with him with this knight jumping into f7. So bishop e7. Knight at h5 is natural. I was thinking he might even consider h5 instead of bishop e7, because knight at h5 hits here. You can play rook g8, but it just stops you from ever getting this in. Okay, so white proceeding slowly here. Bishop to d3. 2 pieces attack in e4. How do you defend it? Pardon me. As black, you want your bishop on f5, really. So here he opts to try to give up the knight for a pawn here. Now this is a classic little penetration idea. You already have a bishop hitting h7, so you overburden the rook. So you sometimes force your opponent to play the bishop back to f8, which looks really ugly. And in this case, you might even have some queen takes c3, pawn at e4. I don't know if knight at f6 is any good there. Maybe not. Takes, queen takes the knight, pawn at g7. I'm thinking of ideas of sacking here to get rid of the defender on e7 to threaten mate, and also the pawn here to get rid of this defender with check. But we're seeing a long way ahead there. Opperwezen burning the clock again. I feel like 16, I know it is being smart with his opening choice with white. He's just playing something where he can strategically grind. Wow, so opperwezen with rook g8, allowing bishop takes h7. For what compensation? Is he just going to move the rook back to h8? Here's the value of having this bishop out on f5 instead. You just don't get this sort of problem. So Nelson Moore saying knight at f6, you don't have to take it from the last game. Yeah, but then it would be mate. If you go king h8, then it's queen at h7 mate. If king f8, queen at g8 would mate, because the knight on d5 is defending e7. I think knight at f6 was force mate previous game, but let's not hang around that. Rook h8 here, allowing this, but then black will either pick up the knight or the bishop. So knight takes g7, king f8, bishop h6 takes, knight takes e6, king e8, wins the queen, king takes d8, queen at g8 check, knight at f8, bishop takes f8. Like, it should be good for white here. There's also an option to play pawn at g6. This knight is hanging. I think opperwezen is trying to be creative here, but if Sexy and I know it, just hold steady. Maybe even like a pawn at f6 idea. Yeah, white doesn't have to go crazy. You could actually give away, with bishop h6, you could give away a few nice minor pieces and it may not help. So bishop h6 is played. Well, he will definitely take h7. I'm expecting knight takes e6 and then picking off the queen, but I don't think opperwezen would be unhappy with that. So okay, king e8 wasn't as good because of queen at g8, so he's gone to g8 here. Knight takes. You can either take the bishop or you can take the knight. Takes with the knight. Okay. So pawn at g7. Can he just pinch h6? Why doesn't he just pinch h6? I don't know about this move. Okay, he's planning queen at h8. Wow. Harinezumi-sama donated $40.40. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. Lick my chesticles. Nice name there. He says, John, do you feel that 2 seconds is enough of an increment? We'll get to that in a moment. Did he just miss that? I thought opperwezen would see that. I don't know if he just loosely played pawn at h3 there and allowed for that mate. But could he have played knight at g6? Yeah, I don't know. I thought that maybe when he played knight takes d8, he should have played rook takes d8 just to cover a bit more on f8, and it would have given him a little bit more defense. So Sexy I know it picks up another game there, but yeah, it was a little bit uncharacteristic how opperwezen lost it. It wasn't the sharpest idea to stop queen at h8 check. I'm not sure if he just missed it. So is 2 seconds enough of an increment? Yeah, I think, look, the context is in last year's Crazy House World Championship, we were playing 3 minutes and 0 seconds. 3+2, I think has brought out much more quality matches, but still putting on some pressure. You know, it's just about what your preference is, and everyone's got a different idea. If you ask Nelson Moore in the channel, he'll say it's not enough, probably because I know he's got a slow variance club and he's trying to promote, a time control more like 5+5, and everyone's entitled to their view and everyone prefers a different time control. I'm fine with 3+2. I think Crazy House is a bit different to chess, and I'll explain what I mean by that when it comes to time controls. But knight takes f7, queen takes g4, bishop at h5 looks like the plan. I think opperwezen's giving up some material here just to play for some practical weaknesses on black. Objectively, maybe black is slightly better here with having the queen in hand after this. Bishop at h5. I think what you get a queen and no queen. What's the count? No, you're taking a pawn. You're losing a piece. Getting a piece. It's like a piece and a pawn for a queen, maybe. Wow, what is that? Queen takes g4 straight. So I think his idea is after knight takes g4, knight takes h8, and he has a residual bishop at h5 threat. So at least that way he gets tempo. That's quite smart, actually. And you go, hang on, but black has the queen. But black doesn't have that much to attack with. Pawn at f7, rook at e8 is something to be concerned about. So yeah, let me just talk a little bit about time controls and how Crazy House is a bit different to chess. So in classical chess, you've got a world championship that's determined by very long time controls, 2 hours for 40 moves and like an hour for another 20 moves, and then maybe there's another half an hour and maybe there's some increment. So Crazy House is a bit different because there's a lot less draws in Crazy House. The proportion of draw results in chess can be quite high. Whereas I think there's a much bigger advantage for white in Crazy House because quite simply the pieces recycle, a draw is a lot less likely. It's really only by repetition when one player commits to an attack and doesn't quite get through. So because of that, I think white theoretically must have a significant advantage over black. If there has to be a decision that one player wins and one player loses, the player that goes first must have the edge. And because of that, I find Crazy House is a bit more like tennis, where as white you're serving and you've got that advantage. And if you look at like the top level, like Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, they still lose a lot of games when they're not serving because the advantage is that significant. And for Crazy House, I feel it's the same, and that's why I think this format of playing a series of games as a match is more suitable than, say, a Swiss kind of event where each person plays only once and it's kind of random if you get white or black. So I'm a big fan of this format because I think it suits Crazy House quite well. And then because of that, 3+2 is quite reasonable because in order to get through a certain number of matches, in a reasonable time frame, 3+2 is quite a nice balance. It takes the guys more than an hour to get through 10 games. And that's just one match. They've got to do 10 matches. So there's, for practical reasons, I think it's quite reasonable. Anyway, enough about that. Let's see what's going on here. Opperwezen's gone to town with the attack. Ooh, pawn at e6 was a possibility. I think white's just got too much firepower here. it was a really nice idea that queen takes g4, knight takes h8. Just practically, it's so much easier for white to play and so much harder for black to defend. And you can see he's already broken through here. So knight b5 makes sense. Grab the rook as well. Pawn at d7 is just going to hurt so much. So 2-all. So as I was just saying, you know, white's got a significant advantage, and white has won all 4 games so far. So if you use a tennis term, we are on serve. Yeah, so let's read the comment here from Nelson Moore. I like to see a game won or lost because someone played better moves, not because of time trouble or flagging. He says, yes, but you're a champion. For those learning the game, you need to play a bit slower until you recognize the patterns. Yeah, but you can tell that to Hikaru Nakamura, that, you know, he should play slower time controls. Like, we've got a tournament, and for practical reasons, that's why this time control is being played. Doesn't mean we can't play a longer time control. There could be, you know, a 5+5 tournament like you've set up yourself, Nelson. But I just think each player has their preference. There's no real right or wrong. You know, some people might even like to play 20+20 for Crazy House. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Myself, I'm quite time poor, so you know, 3+2 is all right. So that's just my opinion. Now let's just reverse this a little. This has become, you know, 12-teen has played this a little bit. Opperwezen's also played it, and we've got knight c6, pawn at b5. I think is quite reasonable. I've tried some knight e5 here, but pawn at g5 kind of claims a stronghold on the dark squares. Castles, rook e1. It's all very solid from Sexy, and I know it. All really solid. It's a deterrent to pawn at h3 because you can play rook e1 here. Maybe bishop e7 is in order. Try to get a knight on g4. Pawn on g5 rather. But yeah, white's a pawn up here, and I don't see clear compensation for black. If bishop e7, I'm looking at knight c3. If knight takes g5, maybe bishop takes, and d5, breaking. That looks quite reasonable. So bishop e7, knight c3, takes, knight at e4. Then white's got another knight in hand. Maybe knight at h5. I don't know if that's being over aggressive. So, what's he thinking here? I mean, knight c3 just makes sense with a d5 push, and you're developing a piece that's out of the way. Alright, rook e1 also reasonable. Okay, will he take f2? I don't think black's got enough to take that. But again, knight takes g5 is not looking like much more fun. Bishop takes d5 because now you're exploiting a pin. Could be a possibility. Pawn at f5, so it's just holding off the file. And here I feel like knight c3 maybe. Pawn at h6. Okay, he's gonna claim some dark square weakness. Okay, so I don't think opperwezen's castling anytime soon. as black, even though you can win a pawn here, you don't really feel that compelled to open up the position. So I think this is sensible. Maybe you can get the rook file just here. So bishop takes c6, b takes c6. Oh, he's gone to f8, so maybe he didn't like d7 because it's going to open up. You know, White's happy here. I mean, White hasn't given up any material. White's just a pawn up, and you know, Black's got the weaknesses. 1609 is just playing very, very nice strategic crazy house here. I'm looking at something like knight e5 here, and the idea being knight takes e6 checked here, pawn at g7, bishop at f7 mate. I just felt you could delay it one move. This knight takes e6, just make Black stew for just a moment. He might be considering pawn at g7, bishop at f7. No, he's going knight e5, so d7 and f7. Both big threats. Opperwezen low on time again. Look, Sexy, I know it. He's holding his ground today. Now bishop at d7, you can win the queen. I think then the attack slows down. Ah no, you might be able to take this. And knight at e5. So let's see, bishop here, queen takes, knight at e5 check, king here, queen at d7. You'll be able to capture c6 with check either way. Knight takes c6. And then the checks kind of run out, but I think you can probably take on e7. Right, he decided against it. I thought bishop at d7 was quite good. This looks very dangerous for Black. Knight takes f7 here. Yeah, this is mated, isn't it? You have to run out this way. And knight at e5, bishop takes e6. Yep, you just clean up here. I would just undermine Black's center and claim that Black has no counterplay. But I think it's fair to say Black has no counterplay anyway. Alright, but he can't lose on time here. He's got to keep going. Alright, takes knight at g4. It's necessary to take with the queen, or else you're going to get in some trouble, I think. You maybe could have just gone back to g1, but then a pawn would be a lot of trouble. Oh, knight at f3. Whoa. Queen at h3. No, did he have a mate? Oh, not quite. He went for queen at h5. Now he's busted. Ooh, that was close. I don't think there was anything there. There was queen h4 check, g takes, queen at h3 check. I think Black was just a pawn short. But Sexy, I know it. He made that a lot closer than he needed to, I felt. I don't know if he missed knight at f3, but... Or maybe he saw it and he saw it was still safe. Who knows? So Sexy, I know it. He's just a quiet threat here. You know, White's won every game, but this is interesting. Opperwezen will like a creative position where there's lots of new opportunities, you know, unfamiliarities, and Sexy, I know it is playing to what's familiar to him, and I think he's executing very well at the moment. Okay, so we've both got d4, d5. Unusually, the white bishop is locked behind e3. We normally see it's the other way around. Black has already got his bishop past e6. So bishop d6 probably makes sense here. Yep. Takes. Oh boy, it's 1:40 a.m. and I can feel my brain battery is getting lower. We're halfway through. I gotta hold on and continue the commentary. Yeah, I mean, I really feel that if we're gonna have a good chance of making the full Candidates Appreciation Fund target, I've got to show up for the commentary to give supporters the opportunity to donate on live stream. Zveta 9000, my good friend Zveta, welcome to the chat. Zveta and I, we played quite a few over the board tournaments together. More or less grew up together at junior chess tournaments. So Zveta 9000, good to see you. Bishop at h5. Yeah, this I think Sexy I Know will be happy here. So Black's got an extra piece in hand. I don't think opperwezen got what he wanted out of the opening. Knight at e4 looks good. I don't know here if you want to try to trade off. I think that makes sense. You could start with rook b8, yeah. But okay, Opper's looking for some space. Knight e5. I like Black here. I just feel it's Black has a knight in hand relative to White with his bishop on c1, and it could be quite a long grind, but I think that's the difference. Oh dear. Pardon for the yawning. The game's not boring, I'm just that tired. So did Blauer so in the chat saying Sexy doing well. I do agree. Knight at h4 here, threatening, capture. Knight at f3. That's an opportunity. Knight at h4, bishop at g5. It's tempting, isn't it? Okay, he's going to take first. Maybe now the knight comes to h4 or g5. I think one of those two to go knight at f3. Ali WWW asking what is the standings at the moment for the CWC. I'll give you a link for that. Here you go. Okay, sorry, I just moved this last couple of moves. Alright, so knight at h4 was played, f3 to hit, and knight d7, nicely defending and also hitting here. Is bishop at g3 the move? Yes, knight f5. So I just feel like, Black's making a few holes here, some dark square weaknesses. He's got control of this. White's just a little bit on the back foot here. It's not decisive yet. I just feel that Black's in a controlling seat. Knight at g6 I would have liked. I thought you could just wait for a move and then undermine this defender potentially. He's captured first. So f4 could be a good square for a knight. So Sexy and I know it. He's down a lot of time, but I think he's played the position well. Okay, bishop h4, bishop e7. Yeah, if you can get your queen out this way, it's pretty good. Bishop at h4, queen c5 could be quite nice. You don't want to play f6 because then you lose your opportunity to win a pawn here. Okay, he's gone to c5. Uh, Alright, F4. Sveta 9000, he said, you were older generation though. Nice. I already feel old enough, man. Can't we just say we're both old school? That'd be nicer. Uh, okay, knight at e7. So sexy, and I know it. He's burnt his clock. Now he's under a bit of time trouble, but can he do it? This is critical here. You know, we need to break the streak with white. Is he going to pick off this pawn? There's not much else in the position, is there? You got to try to get pawn at f6. Oh, nice. Knight takes d5. He's going for the queen trade. There's pawn at f6 here is going to hurt. You got to be careful. I think white's going to be okay. Knight at e2, king h2 was not going to be a problem. I felt maybe he should have pinched the queen while he could. Okay, sexy, and I know it. Defending tenaciously here. Opperwezen wants a knight, a rook, or a queen. Queen takes b4, I think. But you know, Opperwezen's still doing well, and he's chewing down Sexy's clock. Another donation. Not Fets and Player has donated $15. Great commentary. Thanks for putting out so much great ZH content. Really appreciate it. That's a nice compliment. Makes it all worthwhile doing. Thanks so much for that. That was not Fets and Player. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Right down to the wire here. So we've picked up the queen. There's no mate here just yet. So Opperwezen, he's having a hang on. Ooh, this is critical. This could go either way here. Opperwezen's got a long grind to get checkmate, but it's anyone's game. There's no real easy weakness for either player. It's all going to be down to how accurately they can play in the dying stages. So he's got a pawn on here. It's looking dangerous. Okay, queen at g2 can't be allowed. That's why the knight's on h4. It's also aggressive. He captures here. He gets rid of the offensive piece. Knight at g5 now. Now the mate threat. That's a nice maneuver. Knight h4 to g5. Knight at f7 would renew the threat. No, pawn at f5. Opperwezen now pressing with the attack. Okay, he's picked up a knight. He's looking for knight at f8 to rinse and repeat. I don't think black's going to have enough to attack with. It takes knight at e4 would be a bit of desperation, but yeah, here he's going to grab the rook. And knight at g6 is going to finish. Opperwezen holds on. Like I said, he was going to have a long grind to get through, but he had enough dynamic play. And if Sexy and I know what had taken that one, he'd be up 4-2. He would have broken serve. Yeah, this is an exciting match, guys. White has won every game. Intense. A suitable comment from Last Pioneer. Now 3-all, so no matter what, we're going to be at 4-3, and 4-3 is always very exciting because the most exciting scoreline is 4-all for sure. Where that, once you hit 5, you're guaranteed half a point, and if you still got another game to play, you've got a chance to play for a bit more. Now, yeah, a bit dubious this opening choice here, I feel. So d5, allowing d takes e5, e4, and black now getting in with the tempo on the bishop. Bishop nowhere good to go. Bishop d3, he loses the pawn at here, so he goes for the pin. If I was black, I think I'd consider taking this, giving up the queen for 2 pieces. And Opperwezen does it without much thought. Now, can Opperwezen strike here? I don't know if he's thinking pawn at e3. You just can't allow queen at e7, mate. That's the big trick. If king takes, queen at h4 check. knight f6, pawn at e5. Maybe it's better to take this first, then take this. Queen at h4. Knight at f6, pawn at e5 still. I think you put a knight there because you want it defended. That was the whole point of playing bishop takes c3 first. So knight at f6, I think you play without much thought. Pawn at e5, and then white's getting his piece, one of his pieces back. He moved the knight from f6. Okay, I mean from e4 to f6. Then that just means you have to defend it now. I see. He wants the knight to hit the queen. I think takes. Maybe knight takes g2, king d2. Yes, Amina White says, does White have a big advantage? Seems to have in this match. Yeah, I was making some comments earlier. And yes, we've just seen he takes f6. I believe White has a larger advantage in Crazy House than in chess, simply because draws are so unlikely. Okay, he's played the bishop on e7 first before taking this, and the idea is that if rook g8, knight at f6, so he's been quite resourceful here, making use on the pawn on, with the pawn on f6 to get the bishop on e7 first. This king probably goes to f1. His king d2 allows bishop at h6, which allows black to recover defensively. So you want to put your king on a white square. You might even consider e2 to tempt knight f4 check before going to d2. Trouble for white is he's got holes on b2 and g2. There's no real end square for the king that looks comfortable. It's more about where you can keep the king safe while it's a live and open match. Oh, another donation. Lovely. Row Your Boat Mofo says, thanks Justin for streaming these matches at all hours of the day. It's super valuable to the game and good fun to watch. Ah, that's lovely. Thank you, Row Your Boat Mofo. He's donated $11.60. So the candidates will be happy. The Candidates Appreciation Fund now up to $677. We're at 60% of the target. That's fantastic, guys. I'm really impressed with everyone's contributions. Now, is knight e3 check, pawn at g2 coming? The trouble is, white doesn't have to take it. You can just go king e2, bishop at f1 check, king d2. The checks run out for black. Knight e3 check takes, pawn at g2 takes, pawn at g2 takes. And bishop at g4 takes, h5 check is starting to look dangerous. Maybe even then white still gets out by g3. Probably not. You might go check here, check here, check here, and then queen at g2 to seal off the back. I don't know if you can even still contain white. But yeah, if pawn at g2 here, I'm leaning towards king at e2. You could use a bishop. The trouble is, the moment black doesn't have check, it's like rook g8, knight at f6, takes, and white has a stunning attack, because this knight on e5 is going to hit the king if it gets to d7. I think Sexy and I know what is in the driver's seat here. Okay, so straight off to king e1, so pawn at f2, king to d2. This is good from Sexy and I know it. What's he thinking about? e2 or d2? I think king d2 is straight up, like bishop at e1, rook takes e1, takes. Not too much to be concerned about. He's gone to e2. Probably okay as well. Is bishop at f1, king d2. You just definitely weren't playing king takes f2. That's it, because queen g2 is too dangerous. Okay, promotes to queen. This is safe for white though, isn't it? Okay, you could play rook f2, I reckon. Takes, rook at g2, king e1, pawn at f2, king f1, rook g1 check, take f2. You can dance. Rook f2 is a nice little finesse piece of defense. He does it. Okay, but g7 falls. But see, white's laughing here. Like white's just got a crushing attack. Black's nowhere near white's king. These pieces are under defended. So Sexy is going to take it to Opper. He's up 4-3. If Opper's going to take the full point, Opper has to win the next 3 games. That's a tall order. Just from the way that the momentum's gone so far. So Sexy don't know it. He's a chance here. He could open up the tournament. Like I said at the beginning before this began, opperwezen's a favorite, but anything can happen. We've got a great match here. So yes, VSim saying such a close match. Yeah. I'm not gonna go through all the comments, but let's just stick with the commentary. It's actually really critical we go through this. So bishop b5 check, drawing c6. Now bishop f4 is no good because if you take and play pawn at c7, black has a bishop in hand to play bishop at a5 check and grab this pawn. So that's not a sacrifice that can be played. Opperwezen would be too good to fall into a trick like that. Now the bishop back to e2 makes sense. You don't want to put it on d3 because of pawn at e4. Sexy, I know it already here. I think is thinking quite hard because he feels maybe the next few moves are critical on establishing an advantage if he can get to it. I think it was game 6 where there was a big time scramble there, and it could have been anyone's game, and that was a big chance for Sexy, and I know it, but he still pulled ahead 4-3. So he's done the same thing. Bishop b4 checks c3. Are we going to see bishop e7? Okay, so here's the difference. Black has been able to play c6, so he is immune to the bishop at a4 trick. So he's gone for pawn at c2, trying to grab the knight. That's very observant of Sexy, and I know it, to pick up on that nuance that because he blocked a check before, bishop at a4 is no longer viable for white. So here black gets to pick up the piece and then pick up a rook for a pawn. So black slightly better on material here. Yeah, a little bit loose from Opperwezen perhaps, but he's coming in here. I'm concerned maybe if you just take rook at g6. Like I think black can grind from here, and I think Sexy, I know it, would be the man to do it based on how the games have gone so far. I like black here. I think and I've seen this in another game where Sexy, I know it, has maybe overthought the position a little bit, and I think he's got to be practical and keep some time up his sleeve. He's already down about 1 minute to 2, and he is stronger here, but something like g takes and rook at g6 is just nice and practical. Knight at c2, I don't understand as much. So unless he's seen a tactic, and I did see some games. I think it was Blitz Bullet versus Sexy, I know it, where Sexy, I know it, was generally ahead on the position, but Blitz Bullet would just push him so hard on time and take the match from him. So if Sexy, I know it, gets into time trouble again, that could be a factor. Rook at e1, of course, is not mate here because of the knight. I'm not a fan of this idea. Knight at c2 kind of prevents the bishop from retreating, and if you don't get rook at e1, it's not doing enough. b4 is not going to be that attractive because of pawn at c7. So I think opperwezen's got what he wants here. He's got a bit of play. I would have preferred to have just taken here, queen takes, rook at g6. You just say, hey, I'm still up a rook for a pawn, and I'm solid. This is nice. So the idea is to try to open up f7, of course. But if you take here, then takes here, rook g8, pawn at h7, white will have 2 pawns on the 7th rank. Sexy, and I know it. Burning the clock. Also takes, g takes like this. There's all sorts of checks. Not checks, threats that are hard to address. Rook g8. Like, black was up a rook for a pawn here, and opperwezen's just sneaked in with a pawn on h6 and a pawn on g6. Is he looking for better here? Is he looking for something like queen takes, knight at d6? Maybe he's looking at bishop at h4. No, pawn at h7 is simple. So he's recovered his rook, and he'll get the back rank check. This is all over for black. Ooh, that opening was so good for Sexy, and he put these 2 knights on, and it didn't help his bishop. Yeah, he's trying something here. Pawn at d3. He's got 2 seconds left on the clock. He nearly flagged. Queen e5 check would be good safety. Okay, queen's traded off. Knight e3 check. This is going to take this bishop with check. You could play king g1 if you wanted, but you don't have to. Okay, so queen at f1, a mate threat. But he's got dangerous checks. Yeah, there should be mate here. Pawn at d6, looks like mate. King takes, queen at e5, knight at c5, or pawn at d6, king here, bishop takes, queen at h6 here, knight at e7. Yep, that's it. Oh, opperwezen. Like, if you give him that much of a gap, he just put a pawn on h6 and a pawn on g6. He just had pawns, and he just made a crushing attack on the king side there. That was very impressive. But I just feel like, maybe Sexy and I know it just had to not overthink that position and go for knight at c2. He could have just gone rook at g6. So we're at 4-all, 8 wins for the white pieces. Critical match here because no matter what, this will guarantee one player has half a point, and in the next match, both players will be fighting for the other half point. So we're in for a great finish here, and very exciting time of the tournament. Yeah, let's see what happens. Now white declining again. I think this is smart because opperwezen plays quite well with his bishop on f5, but Sexy, I know it has done quite well in this opening. Is the move order slightly different? So knight takes e5 could be on the cards again. No, it's quickly rejected. Sexy's had success with this opening. And it really cramps opperwezen's style because opperwezen is a creative player, and this just strategically squeezes. Look, he's not even opening the trades. He's put the bishop here to make the bishop go here. Play e6. That's stop the bishop from going to f5. That's all Sexy is trying to achieve. It's very effective. Knight takes c3 takes. Knight at h5 is what he would like to do. I already like white here. This bishop is misplaced on d7, and it's the 3rd time we've seen it. He's just controlling the game really well. So knight takes g5, knight at h5, g7 is very hard to defend. You don't even have bishop f8 here. You could go for this rook g8, bishop takes h7, rook h8, knight takes g7 idea again, but it's like you don't want to give up that king side. And then this trade could come off badly. Queen g4 is also an idea. And now this bishop's also stopping black's king from going to d7, which is where you often like to put your king after knight takes g7. So this bishop b5 move, which is getting Opper to put his bishop and pawn on the wrong spots, is actually really critical. And it's probably not obvious without some commentary, but I can tell you that's what's making the difference when Sexy has white. Is he's getting these pieces, the bishop on d7, pawn on e6, and it's not fun for opperwezen. It's just cramping his style. So I'm tipping Sexy to actually take 5. That would be the first blood drawn from opperwezen, the first half point. Let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Knight takes g7, just go for it. If takes, pawn at f6, just looks really strong. Bishop takes, queen takes, bishop at g5 would trap the queen. Oh no, he's got here. Bishop e3, queen b4, still queen runs. No, knight takes, king takes, bishop takes, queen takes, bishop at f6 would be correct. So if knight takes, I expect Opper was thinking bishop takes c1. But it's no help. Rook takes, king takes, bishop at f6. Like knight takes g7, rook g8 maybe. It just looks crushing here. And here's where I'd like to see Sexy not overthink the position. He doesn't have to find the best move. He just has to find a good move. If he's not doing that, yeah, I like this move too. Queen g4. You're developing the queen in advance of opening things up. Bishop takes c1 is now off the cards. I'm not going to criticize him for that. I think that's time well invested on a good move. He's still got a time edge, but yeah, you want to be white here. Knight takes g7. Let it roll. It's got to be knight takes g7 here. Come on, man. Wow, this could really open the tournament, guys. You're watching a really critical match here. I think Sexy could only lose this by letting his clock tick down too low and not leaving himself enough time. For example, knight takes g7, king takes, pawn at f6, king back, bishop takes, queen takes, and knight at h3 would lose the queen. He's end up playing f4. Okay. Yeah, he's been very careful here, but I don't know why knight takes g7 wasn't played. So knight at f6. Wow. I mean, f4 is incredibly strong. This bishop is tied to its duties, so that's why opperwezen's had to sack his knight. But now d4 is open. So okay, come on, tempo here. Bishop at e5. You don't want to allow queen takes. Alright, a knight at h5, queen takes d4, bishop at e3 is also very strong. Okay, he's gone for bishop at c5, so he's looking for knight at h5. This is really good for white. Sexy's just playing true to his style. He's just looking for the best moves. Now Opper defending, giving up the queen. He's got that covered. 10 seconds. Sexy, you gotta go, man. Oh, you're making me nervous. They could have taken that. Queen takes d7. Oh, they're both under 10 seconds. No, see, so now opperwezen's in with a fighting chance here now. it was a lot clearer cut before. Knight at g6. Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat here. Knight c6 could be a move. I mean, white's still got it, but it's the time trouble that worries me. Okay, he's got it. He's got it. White is safe as a house here. Queen 87, mate. Okay, Sexy has held on. Oh, I just wish he would use up less time in getting to that finish line. But Sexy, and I know it, has drawn blood from opperwezen and is now fighting for a full point. Opperwezen is fighting for this half point. This is a critical game again. Congratulations to Sexy, I know it, for being the first player to draw blood from opperwezen in terms of breaking his perfect score. That's phenomenal. All the candidates are dangerous, like I'm saying. Sexy, and I know it. Wow, okay. We're going for a pawn sack line. So black has chances here. I think I play this myself as well. I play bishop b5, queen takes b2, knight e2. And there's just good development for white. But I think theoretically it's probably better for black. Black just has to grind a really long time, you know, just defending material. I've had quite a few games where Yasser has played this as black and probably grabbed a whole bunch of pawns and you know, allowed some tactics through when white gets the development forward. I don't think I'm winning against Yasser because of the opening necessarily. I feel that there's probably a blunder in there once in a while. Knight g2 usually follows next. Pawn at d3. This looks theoretical. So I think bishop takes d3 makes sense. You don't want to take it with the queen because queen takes a1. You don't want to take here because pawn at c2 looks dangerous. But you could play queen c1. I don't know if he's like seen this before and he's playing off memory, or if it's just not a good idea. I agree with bishop takes d3. That's a safe capture of a pawn. So it alleviates a bit of pressure here. But I was thinking more like, you know, pawn at d7, even as passive as that is, it might be necessary. Black's up like 2 pawns. So black can afford to be a little bit passive, but maybe Sexy knows something here. There's he's gone for the light square weaknesses, and he's been able to alleviate pressure from this pin and also alleviate pressure from the file. So yeah, trouble is queen here, knight b5 is now looking at both. Queen a5, bishop d2. So you'd want to take that. Rook g1 looks like the move. A knight would mate on f3. Now you can't take c3 because knight takes c3 allows white to defend that f3 square. Now here it's interesting. If knight b5, queen a5 check, bishop d2, queen takes b5, knight at f3 would be mating. Black has the license to sack the queen here. I think queen d2 is necessary. Ooh, queen takes b5 is on. Queen takes b5. Am I missing it? Why is queen takes b5 not on? Yes, he's seen it, but maybe that's why I thought queen d2 was necessary, not c3. Just give white. I thought here queen d2 was really necessary. I mean, you can get knight at f3 to win the queen back, but it's not mate, and white's still got some initiative. This is losing a piece cold. Opperwezen's in trouble here. Opperwezen's in trouble. Queen e5. There's the fork on. Wow, Sexy, come on. Queen e5. Now Sexy's got a good position here. Don't overthink it. He does need to be careful of tricks. There could be some tricks with bishop takes c6, pawn at b7, but at the moment because of knight at f3, he's immune to that trick. Queen e5 is crushing. There's a pawn on offer there, but the knight's defending g1. So bishop takes c6 is now something to look out for, maybe. Pawn at c2. What does pawn at c2 do? Right, he's going to win the rook. Is there value in that, though? I'm not convinced. I mean, opperwezen holding on here with bishop e4, bishop takes g2. Now pulling the trigger on f3 and c6. There's no knight to go on f3 anymore. And this is what I was talking about, this trick. Opperwezen's back in the control seat. Critical game. Bishop takes, queen takes, rook d8. No, he's gone for e2. Has he seen better? If you take the rook, the knight at f3 takes. Knight takes g1. He's gone pawn at d7. Wow, what a move. So if takes, you take the rook with check. That's the key. So the king has to take. Then knight at c5 maybe? Takes. Knight at f3 takes. I don't think black's got enough. The white king will be able to run. Knight at c5 could be a killer blow here. It just means that you're taking black's queen off the board. And he's gone for knight at f3 instead. So he's gone for some safety, not allowing knight f3 check. Time low for Sexy, I know it. Looks like it's in opperwezen's favor here, but Sexy, I know it, had it in the opening. He could have really opened up the tournament here. I think opperwezen's going to get away with it. King d2 looks very safe. Bishop at c4 would win the queen. I would prefer king d2. So pawn at d3. And he's run out of time. Wow, how anticlimactic that was. Oh, what a match, guys. Right down to the wire. 5-all. I mean, congratulations to Sexy, and I know it, for pulling half a point off opperwezen. White won every game, 10 out of 10. Funny I was mentioning how white has an advantage here. But look. He stole this piece. Queen takes b5. He's not just up a piece. He's up a piece and 2 pawns. Bishop e4. Now queen e5 I suggested, but in hindsight, I wonder if there's something stronger here. I mean, queen e5 looks quite reasonable. But maybe pawn at d7 or pawn at e4. I think we just have to respect what can happen on b7, d7, c6. So maybe pawn at e4. And it's going to be a long grinding game, but black's definitely got the edge here. The material is clearly in his favor. But yeah, pawn to c2, like the pieces just went where they didn't make sense, and white was able to get the initiative. So even in the final position, if black takes the queen, you know that's busted. Wow, but what a game! What a match! Congratulations again to Sexy, I know it. So that brings opperwezen to 7.5 out of sorry, 8.5, not 7.5, 8.5 out of 9. As I speak, the cross table is getting updated. That's phenomenal. First chink in the armor, but not a bad time. I mean, he's already so far ahead. So 8.5 out of 9. You know, here if he's ruled out 12-teen, because 12-teen can only get 8 out of 10. So 12-teen the runner-up from last year, finalist against myself, confirmed here as not being the finalist this year. GSVC still with a chance, could make 8.5 out of 10 if opperwezen loses to Blitz Bullet. But on tie break, I don't think GSVC can catch him. Even if he wins 10 points, he'd be on 61. Yeah, Opper would have to lose 10-0 to Blitz Bullet. So opperwezen already looking pretty safe and secure. It's just Fumitox, who's on 1 out of 2, still has the chance to get 9 out of 10 mathematically. But that's a really tall order in this field. Yeah, we don't know until you know we really know. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. Look, thanks for joining. Thank you so much for all the donations. I'm going to just call out the donations again from today. We've got Harine Zumi-sama with $40.40, Not Fetson Player donated $15, and Row Your Boat Mofo donated $11.60. Thank you so much. Target's now at $677 out of 1111. We've got 11 days to go on the target. 61%. I mean, that's phenomenal. So thank you again for all the support. If you've just joined or if you've caught it late, you can see the full match on my YouTube channel. I'll post it sometime within the next 24 hours. I just respect Twitch's rules as a partner that content is not meant to go anywhere else but Twitch for 24 hours. So I generally put the content on YouTube after a 24-hour delay. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I need to get some sleep. It's 2:20 a.m. Thanks for joining. We'll see you at the next one. I will be trying to make it. It's I think in a few days. Let's just leave it at that. There might be another match booked in between before then. I'm hoping there's some matches on the weekend. I'm just going to leave it there. Too tired. All right. See you guys next time. Thanks for joining. A great match.